Welcome to the Bobby Couto Show, where we dive into the fascinating world of human experiences and excellence. With special guests, real-life anecdotes, and thought-provoking discussions. Get ready to unlock and tap into your absolute potential with your host, manifestation coach, Bobby Couto.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bobby Couto Show. It is my very great pleasure to introduce to the show today, detective and host of the 10-8 show, Mr. George Duarte. Welcome to the show, sir.
Well, thank you. Whoa, I like that.
Yeah, we're for real here, right?
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Bob.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for making the time to come here today. Absolutely. And I just want to say that, I think the fact that we are even in this situation is in great thanks to Mr. Marco Andrade with Social Table Events.
That's right.
He's an amazing friend of the show. He's my own personal great friend, and I love him dearly. And I know that he is he's in that scale of growth, right? Like he's in the process of creating amazing things. And along the way, we met by chance, absolute accident, and happened to be in the same place at the right time. And he said, bro, we're astronauts. We're going to the moon. Let's go. Let's do this. And here is proof positive. The fact that you're sitting here, Ray, thank you so much for being here, brother. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And, if people don't know, and, we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty, but I just want to say this out loud. And it's very important that I say this. Very rarely do I have a real life superhero in my studio. No, I'm being dead serious, man. Like, and you are that, sir. Like, not all heroes wear capes. And I always say this, people that do the most always say the least. You know what I mean? And what I appreciate about you, George, is that you're looking at this completely different. Just to kind of intro this very, very carefully. This is a very sensitive subject. Obviously, we just disclaimer of the conversations. I mean, you're in a SUV division, the Special Victims Unit.
That's right.
SVU, I apologize. SVU, Special Victims Unit. And you deal with something very, very specific, and that is?
Human trafficking.
Human trafficking.
Any kind of child exploitation.
And you've been doing this for quite some time. I mean, there's been a lot going on. There's so many awards, and I'll tell you, what a great pleasure to do the research on you and the things that you're doing. Even going back to 2017, I want to talk about that as well.
All right.
There's just a lot.
You did some research.
I'm telling you, man, like the fake Uber. Like I want to talk.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to talk about that because it's proof positive to the hard work that you do. Because I think a lot of people. I had a good friend come see me this week. And I don't want to drag out this intro, but a very close friend came to me this week and with grave concerns. He's in the industry of information, let's just say.
Right.
And he's very aware of a lot of these violent acts against children, right? And then, but more specifically, is the inaction, right? The fact that these things are happening, and for whatever reason, these people are not facing the consequences of their actions, right? And so he came to me with these concerns, and I'm like, it's a week before I'm seeing you. And I'm like, the universe is amazing, right? Just the idea that you're coming to me with these concerns, and he's asking me for help, going, Bobby, I want you to get involved, and I want to ask other people to get involved, and how can we bring awareness to this, right? Because we know it's happening, right? But how do we prosecute, right? Because I bet you anybody listening to this show right now is not aware that there's a zero limit limitation. So it's a 0 to 8, right? It's like, so if you get a rape charge, it's a 0 to say 5, right? That there's no minimum. Am I correct in saying that? I mean, I'm speaking in Massachusetts. I don't know if Rhode Island is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't heard that before.
I've been told that there is no minimum in Massachusetts right now. In Massachusetts, if you get a rape charge, that it's a 0 minimum to like a 5 or an 8 year. Like that's kind of, so we'll confirm that. Google, if you want to Google that, Jody, but this is what his conversations with me. And I'm saying to myself, I don't think anybody would even be aware that there would be no minimum, right? You would think that automatically, if you're charged with that you're going to get something, right?
Right.
But that's not the case.
It's not, only because sometimes I think a lot of folks don't understand that you may be charged with a rape, like a sexual assault, but in the end, that's not what you get convicted for. That's probably, that's kind of it too, is like, it's not what you get charged with. It's actually what you get convicted of.
Sure.
I mean?
But there's so much nuance to that as well, George, right?
Exactly.
So like when I think about, for example, he made an example, and the example was, so let's say that there's a rape kit, right? And they don't get to the rape kit, and it's 10 years later. They finally get to the rape kit, and they find who it was that did this. You're going to go back to that rape victim 10 years later into their life and say, hey, drum this all back up again so we can prosecute.
Right.
And that's the case where a lot of these people, these perpetrators, just they go on without any consequence. Right. But that's just a small example of what the larger problem is. But anyway, let's get in. I want to talk about George real quick, man. George, so just to kind of bring you back, we're starting from the beginning. How do you get here? How do you realize? I know you mentioned that you probably have some experience, law enforcement, correction, right? Correction facility. So when do you decide that this is what you want to do and this is the direction you want to go in?
As far as the human trafficking?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I can tell you, I haven't told this story yet. So Bobby, get the story
All
first.
Right, man. I love it.
Tell it
I love
first
it.
on your show.
I love it.
The first case I ever got, human trafficking. So in my department, everything goes by seniority, like a lot of jobs, law enforcement, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when I got promoted to detective in 2012, maybe. And the way it worked then was when you got promoted, you went nights. It was this crazy night schedule. So I worked nights probably for like 17 months doing like major crimes, all major crimes. But I wasn't focusing on human trafficking, anything like that. But after a while, I had been on day shift for a long time, so I wanted to go back to day shift.
Sure.
I had family life
Absolutely,
at that time.
right. Yeah.
And I wanted to go back to days. And in order to do that, it had to go by seniority. So finally, I got lucky. I got to a point where, I could go days. But when I went days, because I had no seniority, I had to go and I did fraud. I was the fraud detective. That's what I did originally. So I started investigating fraud, and I know a lot of people don't think fraud, you don't think of fraud like you do human trafficking or guns and drugs and stuff, but it was actually very interesting. It made me a more detailed detective and all that other stuff.
So
I learned
fraud, counterfeit, things like that.
All
right?
that
like,
stuff, exactly. I was doing all the scams, the stuff everybody gets on your phones. I know who those people are, right? That are scamming
that
you.
had to be really interesting,
it
right?
was really interesting to see how close to home it all was.
Right.
So I did that for a little while, but what ended up happening is we had a human trafficking case come in. And when the case came in, we had nobody specifically.
And this is
2015, maybe 2015, around that time.
Yeah.
And I remember my supervisor coming to me and just saying, "Hey, listen, I know you're busy, but we have this case, and you're the junior guy. Those guys are busy out on the floor, so I have to give you this case." And at the time, it was basically a blessing in disguise. Because I got the case. The case involved a 16-year-old girl, her 15-year-old friend, and a 13-year-old friend. They were being from a nice part of town. It wasn't our city. It was the neighboring city. And these young folks got contacted by an old friend, that re-engaged with them, had some conversation with them. And this particular girl, he knew this girl kind of had a crush on them when he was younger. So he played on that. And we could talk more about like how they manipulate folks, but that's what it was. I got that first case, and once I interviewed this young lady, and she told me her story and like told me some of the things she had to go through, it just put a hook in me, right? To the point where I didn't want to do anything else. I was next in line to go out to the floor, work in a homicide squad, do all that stuff. I talked to that girl, and that was it. I didn't want to do anything else. So from that point, that case ended up going well. Once that case went well, then, the government, like the different task force started coming, to my department.
So real quick, it's just, and I want to pinpoint this because I think it's important, because I think I felt some of that. Not obviously not to even come close to where you're at, but doing the research for you on this episode, and then doing some other research. I happen to listen to Sean Ryan as well,
right?
And something did happen, and it was, I was aware. We all know human trafficking is like that. We all know it's happening. It's people run red lights. Like, we know this is happening. But when you start to really understand the detail, and David and I were having a conversation, and it came to this, and it is, do you know why they get away with it? And he's like, why? I said, because they don't think like we do. Like, it's a completely different mindset. Usually the normal thought is, well, how could anybody do something like that, right? Like, that's that. But then you realize, and that's kind of what I'm segueing into you, is you've tapped into that psychological,
right?
And I absolutely love your show. Please, the 10-8 show, go check it out on YouTube. Absolutely amazing. Ray, you do an amazing job. The quality of that content is over the top. Amazing. And I will tell you right off the back, it like watching it and paying attention to it, I realize it's the psychology. George, you've tapped into the psychology. Like what you mentioned, it's the grooming. This doesn't happen. Again, and I'm all over the place, but this is so important to say. Realizing that it's a family member, it's somebody you already know. It's and what really blew my mind, and I hope we can talk about it a little bit, is Roblox.
Right.
Like, I had no idea, and I hope the audience is aware by me saying this, that if your child is on Roblox right now, get them off. Like, no child should be on Roblox. That is, if you are a parent and you love your kids, like, I am telling you, get them off there. Like, there is nothing good on that game. So, but anyway, back to the show. The psychological. You tapped into that. When do you realize? So it's 2017. You have this case. You get through this. When do you realize? Okay, well, how do we profile? How do we figure out how to tap into this? Because you've been very successful, and not only being successful on the prosecuting end, but also realizing that you're providing information to people to make them aware of it's all around us.
Right.
It's right here.
Yeah.
Like-
Hidden in plain sight.
And seeing that and pulling down that curtain because of your show, it tapped something in me, and I'm like, wow, this is
that's the whole
yeah,
purpose
man.
of it.
And
It's
I'm
just
hoping
that,
like
Bobby.
this is the beginning of something else. Like if we like my studio is your studio, and I
right.
want to say, hey, listen, let's share the information because I think awareness is key.
It
you know,
is.
I think people expect the obvious. And
Right.
it's never the obvious,
not.
right?
No, it's not. It's not going to be like we say all the time. It's not going to be dramatic. It doesn't look dramatic. It's made to look familiar.
Right.
It looks familiar to you. That's how it can hide in all these places. If we are aware, we kind of close down the space that these traffickers and pimps and stuff they can operate.
Yeah.
If we're not aware, it's easy for them to operate right out in the open because it's made to look familiar. It's
Sure.
made to look like everyday life. You know?
Sure.
So
Sure. And even like speaking of the pimps, like the idea of the gorilla pimp, right? The
Right.
idea of the Romeo pimp, right?
right.
Like just those personalities and realizing that these are people that are tapping into the psyche,
they really are.
right? They're
They
breaking
really
these
are.
people down by like, well, how could she? It's psychological.
It is.
Right? And once you break that psychological, once you tap in, like what
It's what it is. Is you're hitting the nail right on the head. It's a lot of people too. Like some of the myths, some people think you've probably heard it if you've watched the show, Bobby. Like most people think these folks. They say, why don't they just leave? Why don't they run away? They must stop at a store or stop somewhere they can jump out of the car. It's because they are being held, but the chains are not. They're not physical chains, right? It's
Right.
the emotional and psychological chains. So that's what keeps them there. And these guys are masters. These pimps. They're masters at finding folks that they know have trauma because they have a certain type they go for. They're not going to go for the square mom with her kids at the store. They know who they're looking for. They're looking for somebody who has a history of trauma, who is more susceptible to their manipulation, right? So it's a lot of that. They know what they're looking for. They build some kind of dependency with the victims, and then the victim just sees them as, the only way out is this guy.
Right. Right.
It's when you talk to the actual women, the stories are incredible.
Sure. And so when I say they're all around us, where do these people get jobs? Where they have the easiest access to the things that they want, which are children, right? So they get into these, I don't want to use specific names, but they'll go to these locations that there are children around them. They become teachers. They literally embed themselves. And again, Roblox, they create games that like entice these young minds to come in. So it's almost like it's all around us. But and I just want to be very, very specific when I say this is because I think as a parent, like I have two children, and a granddaughter, right? And I always protected my kids from the physical. Like, if you even dig, I will bite your nose off your face if you come near my kids, right?
Right.
But not realizing that my child could be sitting on the couch with me with VR goggles on, right? And be on a VR chat with a pedophile, and I have no idea. Like, I'm literally sitting on the side of my
I've
child.
had that happen. That's a great point. That's a great point to make, Bobby, because I've had that happen. And now that's why Raymond and I talk about why we started the show. And part of it was because of the misconception that you have to look for the white van that pulls up and
There it
grabs
is.
your kid.
Exactly.
Right?
There's
There's actually a guy
Yes.
on the internet now. Nothing against anybody. Everybody has their own platforms, but he's telling people, watch out for somebody walking up to you and blowing dust in your face. That's how they human traffic you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just want to try to get folks to have their eyes in the right place.
Right.
And if you're looking for stuff like that, you're not going to see you're not going to see your child, like you're saying, your child's sitting right next to you. You don't know if you're not seeing that guy who's hearting all her pictures.
Absolutely.
Right? That new person you don't know.
Right.
That's where you should be focused on. Focus on your
Absolutely.
kids and, the places, because these traffickers aren't grabbing your kids off the streets no more, because like you're saying,
Yep.
all they need is that computer and your kid's attention. That
Absolutely.
phone and your kid's attention, and they got, they can do it that
So
way.
could you talk about some of those weak points? Like I know that you is it four to six different, like when you look at, like, for example, the psychological manipulation,
Yeah.
the financial can you talk about those points real quick?
Yeah, so it's psychological. It's also emotional, right? They might, a lot of, like you said it right from the start, and it was right, is it's not going to be the stranger. Everybody, like I'm saying, it's not the stranger. It's somebody who's going to maybe get you to think you're in a relationship, right? They use that emotional love, boyfriend and girlfriend,
Yeah.
and then in the end, when they have to traffic you, they're going to start telling you things like, you need to do this for us. And if you love me, you would do this, right? There's that approach, and then there's another approach where they might create dependency. Like all of a sudden they insert themselves in the person's life. If they know they're having a hard time, they're going to say, hey, I'm going to give you a ride to the doctors. I'll bring you there. You need food, I'll buy you food. I'll take you. You need medicine. They're going to fill in all those little spaces to create dependency, so that when they finally do abuse their victims, their victims they're gonna have that attachment to stay,
Right.
because they're so used to they're so dependent on
Sure.
for those things.
Sure, which was a great point. You did that recall on the pit, right? Like
On the pit,
that
yes.
was fantastic how you broke that all down, and
Right.
like that's just amazing to me. Like to go through that process, and you've probably done that a few times, right?
Yeah.
Where you're in a situation like that, where you've got to try to identify what's actually happening here.
Right.
I think the hardest part for me, excuse me, is being in those situations and not being able to do anything.
You're
Right?
right.
George, how do you deal with that?
So Bobby, you're hitting this right on the head. Bobby's on the money.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Because that's a great point to bring up. Raymond and I talk about this all the time, is there are not a lot of success stories. Like I said, I've been doing this since 2015.
Yeah.
And, back in those days, I remember, and I talked to my colleagues about this, we looking for the kids who are always running away, kids who are always missing when they were 12, 13. Now, those same kids, some of them are 22, 23 now, they're older, but some of them are still in the life. So
Right,
it's like,
right.
that's what frustrates you when you don't see some of your other cases, you can actually see the impact of
Sure.
what you're doing. I worked in the schools when I was an SRO for a little while,
Yeah.
which was one of the greatest jobs you can have, because you can actually see the impact,
Sure.
live while you're doing it. Whereas this job, I always explain it, it's like getting up to the plate, knowing you're not 1,000 times, knowing you're not going to get a hit.
Right.
But you still got to get up to the plate in the hopes that you do. And that's
Yes.
rescuing somebody who's
And not to undermine what you
Yeah.
do, but I think the best example is it's like fire prevention, right? Firefighters, they get credit for putting out a fire, but listen, if you prevent the fire from happening in the first place, nobody even knows.
right.
And that's what you do. You're providing that prevention. You're providing that awareness.
Right.
So, although the other end of it, you're like, well, what we know, too bad. But how many that you have no idea how much impact you've already had without even knowing the impact that you had, right? Just because of that awareness
Right.
and letting people know
That's the hope, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's the hope, that people will be receptive to it, because this is a topic that I think everybody is like this. It's bipartisan, right? Like everybody is all about this.
Right.
But the truth is, something that nobody wants to talk about.
It's true. It's true.
You know what I mean? It's like it's a taboo thing, and
Right.
it's one of those things that I believe that as a society, we have to. Look, and we'll say we got to do more. No, we absolutely have to do more. Our children deserve more.
Right.
These are our future adults,
Should
and
be nothing else more. What's more important to me? There's nothing else more important. Women, children, the elderly. The unconsenting.
Yes.
Those are the most important
Absolutely.
people in our community.
absolutely. And so, talking about the wins, so let's go to 2017, right? So, situation happens. Can we talk about the fake Uber situation?
Yeah. We can
All
do
right,
that.
awesome, great. So, how does that all come about?
So first, I want to say that Uber had nothing to do with this.
Okay, yes.
right?
No Uber, but
that's what the media called it.
Okay, all right.
The Uber driver case.
Yeah.
But it was actually a case where we had a guy going out there pretending to be like an assisted Lyft driver. He would try to solicit his victims that way. He would approach them, and he was someone who, almost like these pimps, he would target certain folks. He knew where he was going. He would drive in certain neighborhoods. So he ends up seeing a young lady who was a high school student. She was absent from school class. She took a class off and walked to the store to get some snacks and a drink. And in that process, he sees her. He approaches her. He gets her to enter the vehicle, and then he drives her off to a isolated location, and he assaults her. So from that particular incident, we ended up identifying more victims. So in the end, so this guy, he was a bigger guy, but very personable and stuff like that. So that's what he would do. He would get these women to come in the car with him. He'd talk with them. He'd ask them to smoke marijuana. A lot of young people. He'd pretend to be he was older but looked younger.
But can I ask you, did this creep up on you guys, or was it like you already had a profile on this guy? You knew who he was?
No idea. And he really didn't have any kind of background. He wasn't a sex offender. He had no charges related to any kind of sex crimes or crimes against women. He was just a guy who sold some drugs on the side. It's just not really a huge profile.
Right.
So that's what he was doing. What he was doing is he was using he would get the girls in the car, then he would use like a date rape drug, like a ketamine or something. He'd offer them a drink. Once they take the drink, then he would assault them. But his issue was he was videotaping all this stuff. So that's what ended up getting him in the end. Once I took custody of his cell phone and we did like a forensic audit, all kind of stuff ended up coming out.
And how many, was it a lot of victims or?
Multiple victims, just some victims, the state they were in.
And listen, and I hope I'm not over. Look, I apologize if I'm asking too many questions, and I understand that there's certain things you can't say. And then please, I just want to know that I'm asking the right questions.
Stuff that I'm telling you, Bobby, is the stuff you can read in the article.
Sure.
If you look up the case, that's what I try.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But I just want people to really understand that this isn't easy, man.
No,
you know?
it's
right.
A
you make
case.
it sound like but there is so much work that goes into this, and profiling, because it's one thing, again, back to our original point in the beginning, was not prosecuting, right?
Right.
And one mistake, one period, one desperate look, it's over.
It's true.
Like they walk away. And so, I always say that it's the unfair advantage. They can do whatever the hell they want to do, and they could do it recklessly, but you, on the good side, you can't. Like if you make one mistake, this person walks, and there are no repercussions for these actions, right? So, I mean, I can imagine how difficult that is.
It's challenging, and a lot of that is putting all the evidence together, gathering evidence. It's challenging, and like we're saying about the charging, your evidence is important, because in order to charge something, you need to, by statute, you need to reach certain elements. Like they'll say this murder is like first degree murder. There's premeditation.
Sure,
right? That's one of the elements that are held in the statute. You can charge it first degree murder if there wasn't premeditation and all these other things that you need to charge it.
Right.
Same thing in these cases. In these cases, sometimes it's a lot. You got to make sure you meet the elements of a statute. You can't charge something if you don't have the evidence to meet that statute.
Right.
And sometimes when that happens, that's when they end up getting charged with something at a lower offense. But it's just, there's a lot of moving parts with this. Then you have the way I do it is I always take a victims centered approach, right? So, and that's a challenge, of balancing that with your law enforcement goals, but your victims are the most important thing, especially in these kind of cases. You don't want to do something that causes more harm to them or more trauma. So it's a balance, and you got to challenge, because I'm a cop. I want to arrest people.
Yeah, right.
Excuse me. But at the same time, I've learned that my victims are more important.
But at any moment, your victim could be like, "I'm all set. I don't want to do this anymore."
That happens too.
And what do you do in those situations?
It's
please, it's like, please.
I did it this week. I've done it this week, where you just try to get folks to see the benefits of following through, and try to get them to see that if you want whatever you're going through, whatever abuse or trauma you're going through, if you want that to stop at the hands of this person, you got to follow through with the case.
Right.
I think sometimes they get a little bit of anxiety because they know, I got to go to court. Do I have to do this? Do I have to testify?
Right.
So I've always found it.
Will my name be in the paper? Right.
That happens. So a lot of times now I'll explain the whole process to them. This is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to do this, and this. Because it kind of eases the anxiety they have, and then you get a better witness. Stay with them. My human trafficking, if I could talk about those victims,
please, of course,
they're different from your other victims. So when you interview somebody who's been trafficked, there's a lot of trauma there. So what I've learned, I'm older man, I've been doing a little while. So
guys like 23, 24, this guy.
But I'm watching them. I'm watching to see how they react to what I say. Because if you're talking to somebody and sometimes you're getting to the point where you're right ready to get the information you need.
Yeah.
But now I'm looking at my victim and she's scratching, right? She's breaking out in hives, or she starts hyperventilating, breathing heavy. Or I don't want to hurt my victim. So at those points, even if I'm right at the cusp of getting what I want, I'll say, hey, why don't we stop? Would you mind if I come back and see you in a week and we can go, just re-engage and make that connection. I've always made strong connections with my victims. So
Right. But you have special training as well for that.
I do.
You know what I mean? Can we talk a little bit about that? I love how we're kind of walking into this. So you've had that special training, and actually, just so that I want to quote this correctly, it is that was the Attorney Award. That was amazing. The CCAW. Is that right?
Yeah.
You went to Dallas.
Yeah, I go to Dallas. Yeah, I'm hoping to go again this year.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, I know kind of bouncing around, but this is
it's
so.
all right, Bobby.
Yeah,
this is good. Bobby did his research. He got all kind of stuff. How do you get all this stuff? So I was a speaker there. I would go there. That's it's called the Conference on Crimes Against Women. And it's the largest conference on crimes against women in the world. So you get everybody comes to this conference. So I went one time as a scholarship winner. They just gave me a scholarship to be trained. I went there as a scholarship winner, and then by the time I came back a year later, I had all these stuff going on, a lot of cases. So
But now you're more, right? You're more, I don't want to say more balanced, but more focused, right? You've got a better understanding, right? Because, I mean, just this, right? Look, what you just said, looking at somebody, looking at the mannerisms, are they ticking out? Like, are they having a reaction to the words that I'm saying? That's critical, right? Because that's the difference.
It is. And you just want to, again, make sure your victims, your victims first.
Yeah, right.
So with Dallas, I just ended up going there as doing what we're doing now. I wanted to get the word, spread the word to a larger audience. I went there. I had a presentation. It was called Hidden in Plain Sight, and it was about I was doing more indoor brothels at this time.
All right.
Some cases were all indoor brothels, sex smuggling, like folks actually getting women being smuggled across the border. All that. I did a lot of that stuff. So that's what my presentation was about. It went really well. I came back a few years. I've been there a few times to present, and I love that. Great conference.
That's amazing. And I think people should know, like you mentioned a couple of things in that statement, and that is, like, these victims are coming from everywhere.
Everywhere,
it's supply and demand. You know what I mean? It's literally supply and demand. You got like that movie there that what's the name of that movie?
Sound of Freedom.
Yes. Like, I never... when you think about, like, these are people in like third world countries and places that they're poverty stricken, and someone knocks at the door and says, hey, listen, your daughter's beautiful. We want to put her in a pageant, and we're and your little boy too, he can dance, he can tap dance on the stage. And they're like, oh my God, okay, take my children, give them a good life.
Opportunity,
and then
literally knocking on your door, right?
Legit.
How can you refuse it?
And then they're gone.
They're gone, right. And Raymond and I talked about Sound of Freedom, because Sound of Freedom is obviously it's a real movie. Yep. That stuff really happens. Like, I've unfortunately seen some videos of the results of what that stuff is in these countries, and it's sad. It's frightening for these young people to be dealing with adults like that. So it is. It's tough. And that movie it represents what goes on around the world, right? As far as human trafficking is concerned. Just with Raymond and us, we're focused more here, domestically,
right.
But at the same time, folks need to know
awareness.
That is how you're traveling, right? You travel with your family.
Yes.
You might lose sight of your kids for a second. Who
Absolutely.
knows,
Absolutely.
And not just children, adults too, adult women, the unconsenting. You got to be careful, vacationing or what have you.
Of course.
Especially today's day and age.
There is an Amber Alert. It's not everywhere. You know what I mean? Like,
so we say that when you watch Sound of Freedom, the thing they don't have is that kind of stuff. They don't have Amber Alerts. Whereas if children start going missing in Fall River one after another, they start going away. We're going to take a note of that. Authorities going to get involved. It's going to open up a bigger thing. Where are our kids going? But in those places like that, where they're real rural, you're in these little towns and villages, and you might not even have law enforcement in your town or anything like that. So it's frightening to know that happens, but it 100% happens, and I believe it happens like that movie. Yeah,
and it's and even more so now. And again, I hate to even say it on this episode, but like the Epstein files. I think if nothing else, you realize that this is something that's like almost toxic, right? And it's a cancer that needs to be terminated at all costs, like whatever we have to do. And unfortunately, it almost seems like it's gotten to a point where there's like a shadow element of it, right? That we are not exposed to. Right. So, here we are having a conversation, George, about what we can see. And like you said, like, what we're trying to control here in our little pocket, right? But in the grand scheme of things, like, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? Like, we don't realize that, it's almost like slave trade at this point, right? And if we don't become receptive to it, like it's like the bad uncle nobody wants to talk about, right? You know what I mean? Like, we have to accept the fact that this is happening. And if it means recruiting more people and making it more aware, bro, I promise you that I commit whatever I can in my resources.
You're part of the team,
brother, man.
Part of the 10A team, man.
The idea that these
just doing this right here is a magnifier.
Right
now, all these folks, my folks, your folks, are going to hear this.
Yeah. So real quick, we're taking a step back again, right? Like, I love this. So we talked about some of the weaknesses that these people will portray or to prey on these children.
Right.
So, what are some of the signs after the fact? So if I have a young child, what are some of the signs that would be like, all right, that's strange, like,
right? So some of the things might be like a lot of times, like I said, this could be made to look familiar. It could be made to look like just a child acting out or what have you. So some of the things are like your child starting to miss school, running away, leaving, being with people that you don't know, older people. For long periods of time, or even short periods of time, they go away for the night. Where were you? You don't know where they are. But once they return, the things you want to look for is, do they come back with high-end items? Do they come back with a cell phone you didn't buy? Does your daughter come back with her nails and her hair done, right? One of the number one things, if they come back with the cell phone, they come back with the hair and the nails done, and then they have medical issues like STDs, that's another big sign, that there could be some trafficking involved. So those are kind of the things, new friends and stuff like that.
What age groups are typically, like, do you I know it's probably a lot, but I mean, just specifically?
On average, the average age is 12 to 14.
12 to 14.
And that's on average what it is. Most of the time, the victims are, it's 12 to 14 in that range. Older too. But.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, if you target-wise, you had to pick some ages, it seems like, to me, that's what it seems like as well. In the research that I've done, it seems like they're the ones that are most looking for that affirmation on social media, right? They're looking for that, I want a boyfriend, or I want that.
Well, that's what these guys are looking for. Some of these guys are watching what they post. They might post something like, we talked about the Uber case. One of those victims, she was a college student. Her mom, she found out her mom was sick. So she put on social media, I just found out my mom has cancer. I need to go for a walk. He saw that, and he drove into that neighborhood with his drinks all set up with the ketamine. He drove into that neighborhood.
George, that's anybody listening. That's your daughter,
right? It can be anybody.
That's your daughter. That's your daughter. Your son. That is
your friend's
your
kid,
friend's
your
kid.
Kids.
Yes.
So that's kind of the stuff he was doing. So I always tell parents with social media, kids put, and I'm on social media. Sometimes I put too much on there because if you have a young child and they put where they go to school, they got pictures of their friends there. And I know for a fact these bad guys will go sit out there. Oh, there she is. Once they're infatuated with you, there she is. And then they're going to watch how you walk home, and they're going to notice that. After you get a block away from the school, your two friends go this way, but you go that way. Right? Then the opportunity, then they stop planning.
And she's weak. Like,
right.
It's this moment. And he just happens to be at the right place at the right time, providing exactly the emotional support
that they need.
That she needs.
And that's what this guy did to that young lady. He kind of knew she was hurting. Hey, you want to come in? He smoked with her. She liked to smoke, and that was one of the things. And then he tried to. What saved her was that she went. The car went over a speed bump, and when it did, he spilled the drink. The drink spilled, so she never got drugged because she didn't. She saved her in that respect, because who knows what could have happened.
Wow.
And again, this case is on the. You can read this.
Right. But again, this is a situation where. You're thinking your kid's going to the corner store and they're in a vehicle with a stranger.
College student outside her dorm, who knew, So there are guys that are just out there, preying on our kids.
Wow.
Unfortunately.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. And so you go through this.
Yeah.
The Attorney General reaches out to you. Right? Tell you, man.
Bobby.
And
yes, they did.
What an amazing. I mean, can we talk about that, man? Like, again, we said at the beginning, it's bro, you do a thankless job. And I only say thankless job because people don't know.
I just feel like I'm doing my job.
Bro, you are, bro. But I want to bring as much awareness to it as possible. And I want people to know that people like you, we need to elevate We need to elevate. You're the creme de la creme, bro.
Wow.
I say this all the time. Look. The bottom line is this, brother. I want to surround myself with people that are better than me. That people like we are all about evolution, right? We are a society of evolution.
Right.
And if we take the best and brightest and we raise them and we prop them up, then the next version is even that much better, brother.
Yeah.
You are part of that version.
Thank
You know what I
you,
mean? The things that you do, and so you're on stage.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that moment, brother. Please.
So that was.
You're such a selfish guy. He doesn't want to do it. I know he doesn't. I know.
But
This is probably the hardest thing you're gonna have to do all night tonight, bro.
But you know what? I'll just say because it was a great experience for my family, right, and for my PD, right, to go out there. But
you're representing.
I was representing, and the good thing was I wasn't the only one. I had my partner Jeff. Shout out to Jeff if you watch this. Jeff Richards, he was my partner. He did the case with me.
Okay.
That was my man.
Shout out,
we
Jeff.
did a lot of we did a lot of human trafficking together. But and also one of our other detectives won an award for something different, another discipline. But we ended up winning it for distinguished service in criminal investigation. So we were the top detectives of the year. That was pretty good,
amazing, brother.
But they treated us really well. We were at the Kennedy Center, that Kennedy place. I was there. Very nice building. I get it. It's historic and all that stuff. But it was the government. They did a great job. They treated my family well. It was really a good experience.
In the category of criminal investigations for an agency serving between 50,000 and 250,000 residents, the Attorney General's Award for Distinguished Service in Policing is awarded to Detective George Duarte and Detective Jeffrey Richards of the Providence Police Department in Rhode Island.
Providence detectives George Duarte and Jeffrey Richards are being recognized for their extraordinary investigative work in solving an abduction and sexual assault case of a 14-year-old girl. Their investigation not only solved that case, but also led to solving several other cases of sexual assault by the same suspect. Because of their work, the detectives were able to have this vicious predator removed from the community, victims of other unreported crimes were helped, and justice was brought to a number of other victims.
So a guy like you is constantly pouring out that glass, brother. And every now and again, it's nice to have somebody fill just a little bit, right? Just
things.
to,
right?
Right? Just to be like, hey, they do notice this, and it does
things.
matter, and it is making a difference. You know what I mean? And I just, the idea is to say, how do we connect everybody? Like, how do we, because everybody's trying, we got to connect everybody. And I think that's like the next logical step here, and to say, what are some of the safeguards? I mentioned roadblocks earlier.
Right.
What are the safeguards that prevent children from being exposed to things that are that obvious, right? So, for example, if there's broken glass, we sweep it. We don't allow children to run around broken glass. Yeah. But yet here is a situation where you have software that its only protection is whether or not are you 13, yes or no,
right?
And whether and if you click yes, then you're exposed to a world that is, I know.
And with those, I've seen not to get on that particular game.
Yeah, you know exactly.
Because, you know what I mean? But
yes.
With platforms like that, the issues I have is even if they have any kind of chat feature at all, they have chat features will say adult, and then they'll mix children in with those adult tabs. They don't belong there.
Right.
Having all tabs for adults on one side and children on the other, so somebody doesn't make the mistake of clicking into the kids. They'll say it's a mistake of clicking into the kids, and they're in there, you know?
Right.
So overall, if parents, you just got to be vigilant, talk to your kids about what they're seeing on Roblox. They'll tell you. Yeah. And just do it in a way that doesn't judge them, so the kids think, "Oh, you're getting on me," because sometimes kids will do things just to spite you. You're
of course, absolutely
feeling your oats and stuff. So,
well, I have friends who have children on Roblox, and the only concern is how much money they spend. Oh, they want $10 a Robux. They want whatever the Broco bucks, whatever it is. Not realizing, listen, the worlds that they're running around in there, they have recreations. Do you know this, David? They have recreations of the Sandy Hook massacre, and you can go in and play as the murderer and kill everybody.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that should never happen. I don't understand that.
I know this because I used to have stepkids that used to play this, and they would have hoods, where you could shoot people, kind of.
Oh my God.
And stuff like that. You could be able to
practicing virtually.
Yeah, you could sell drugs.
Oh gosh. Well,
And so the reason, and to Jody's point, and just to confirm, like the latest episode of Sean Ryan, like not to steer anybody away from the Bobby Couto show, but
Right.
Sean Ryan is masterful at his work, and in this case, he had one of these young men who was actually,
I saw that.
yeah. So this is where a lot of this information, he's having him play the game, and he actually logged into that Sandy Hook game, and he was playing it, and and the thing was, it says for ages 9 and up.
I don't even see a purpose for a game like that.
100%.
I don't understand.
So, and the only reason I mention is, again, the people that are listening to this episode, George, obviously, we know why they're listening, right? They want to know more about what this is, and if I can provide them with just a little bit of heads up, because
that's great.
again, I have friends and family that their children play that game,
Right.
and they have no idea that is all in there, and that these predators, they're in these chats just waiting. They're bouncing around just waiting. And once they have you, and you're in this world of make believe, right?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, she's going down the street and this guy's pulling up, right?
Right. Or they get your child to compromise themselves some way, right? They might tell them, and it all depends on how you raise your kids. You might raise your kids to where they can't say any inappropriate language.
Right.
And that, if you swear just a little bit, that's going to be the most,
Yeah, right.
punishment. You're going to get a serious punishment. And then these guys are manipulators. They might get your child to say a swear, say something, inappropriate. Then they're going to screenshot it, and they're going to hold it, and then they're going to send it to your kids and tell them, hey, you don't do this, you don't show me this, I'm sending this to your parents. And depending upon how your kids are raised, if they're raised, respecting their parents and knowing there's going to be a consequence, even though it's something that we know as adults, we tell them, get out of here, these kids think it's so serious that they fall into it. And
in how many cases do the children not say something because they're afraid they're going to be in trouble, right?
That's the next thing that happens. Yeah.
Right? That's kind of like it almost hand in hand, which is a good point to have these conversations with your kids.
Yeah.
To realize that it's not a bad conversation to talk
It's not
about,
at all, yeah.
right? And realize that, look, if something doesn't feel right, like that starts, but I'm saying that starts here, brother, right? Look, that
does.
starts right here.
Right.
It doesn't start when it's
Right.
too late. It starts right here. Hey, listen, that belongs to you and nobody should touch that. That's
the whole way.
Hands down, as simple as that.
Right.
And you say that all along the way. I mean, if nothing else, it helps, right? It's not.
It's awareness you're giving to your own kids. It's not like you want your kids to be aware of these things. And even though it's tough to talk about some of these subjects, like I said, if you do it the right way, you find a way that you can relate to your kids and get the message across to them without judging them or putting it like having a punitive type.
Sure,
tone,
exactly,
what I mean?
Exactly. Yep.
They're going to be receptive. They're going to say, oh, mom and dad's looking out for me. Let me respect my parents by not doing this, because I've seen that too. I've seen these predators try to prey on a child. And I had this one child that told the predator, I'm only 10 and a half. My parents don't allow me to talk to adults.
Wow.
So, you know what I mean? So if you educate your kids and you do it in the right way, you hope that when they are tested that they're going to do this.
Real quick, I want to shift a little bit. I want to talk about the 10-8. But before we do that, if people need resources like websites, like what would you recommend? Hey, go.
Number one, like the government, the DOJ does a great job. They have like it's called the Blue Campaign. You can go to their website, look up the Blue Campaign, and they give you, everything you need. Like for parents, they'll give you some tips and stuff like that you can do to keep your kids safe. They give you school safety tips and stuff like that. Polaris is also another group that I work with them. They send out a lot of stuff, create a lot of awareness. They provide a lot of trainings for folks in human trafficking. There's always a national hotline you can call. I get the number, but it's national. You could call the hotline number.
I'll put it in right now.
There you go.
On the website.
Thank you.
It's on the bottom of the screen.
Raymond
right
does the
here.
same thing for me.
Bottom of the screen.
So there are sites like that. And contact your local police. Like you might have somebody at your local police or with the FBI. The FBI also has a hotline you can call, and they'll always somebody will always get back to you.
Awesome. I think reach out to me, and we'll transfer that information, whatever we got to do. So real quick, so there's Raymond. Raymond, what's your last name, Raymond? Santos. Oh, he's a greenhorn like me.
Yeah.
I love that. So Raymond's in your life. How does that happen? How does you're doing this, right? And then you say, who goes to who? Is it you to him?
No, it's me to him. So
all
I'll
right.
tell you how
Okay.
this
All right.
happens,
I love it.
So first, you gotta know how Raymond and I met. So when I was an SRO and school resource officer, I worked in Providence. Raymond went to the high school next door, right? So my good friend was his SRO.
Okay.
So
all right.
we used to do after school programs and stuff like that. And Raymond used to was one of the guys who would work in the program. His brother was a student of mine, so I knew him through there, and it just grew. And once Scared Straight, we did taking them into the prisons and let them see that.
That was you.
Yeah, we did some of that. Even though Raymond's very accomplished.
Yeah,
I mean, super, super accomplished. But so we did that, and we built this relationship. Raymond's actually a director and producer. He does movies. He put me in one of his short films.
You're going to have to give me all your info, bro.
Yeah.
Blast it.
He's a pilot.
Yeah,
he does
man.
everything.
No kidding. No
flies
kidding.
Planes, everything.
Wow.
So Raymond, he did the short. He put me in the short film, and then he does a lot of media projects. So once I wanted to start this podcast because I again, to build more awareness, get more awareness out there. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to try to do a podcast. But it was going to be like a true crime story thing.
Okay.
Where, like you're talking about my cases. I said, maybe I can talk about these cases. We're going to, do more local cases. I want to do like the New Bedford highway killings and do some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And we probably still
We'll
will
talk
do
about
those
that later. I
things.
have a connection if you need one.
All right. Yes.
Yes.
So we were going to do that first. But what ended up happening is we were meeting. This took over a year to get this off. We've been meeting for over a year, like month after month. We'd have meetings, we'd get together, and we're trying to figure out a way, different segments, what we're going to do. And then it was actually Raymond that came and said, listen, he did what you did. I think he looked into the background and said, this is what you need to do. You need to focus on the human trafficking and getting the message out. And that's what I wanted to do. So it was like, we call it spreading the word, and that's what we're trying to do.
Well, I will say that it's very unique. The editing, the way that you produce it, it has a very unique touch to it. And I love that everything is like, it's packed. It's right there. Like in 10 minutes, I have there's an hour's worth of information in the 10-minute clip. Does that make sense?
Trying to do.
That's what I got out of it. So if that's what you were trying to accomplish, success. You guys got it. And I think the cutaways, like I mentioned to you earlier, brother, all the things that you do, but I really love the way you break down those videos. And
Really?
I think,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man, I got to tell
I'm
you.
surprised.
'Cause you know what? I think it makes it relatable, right? Because you see something that I don't, right? Like, it's like someone who's a jeweler who looks at diamonds. You could put a diamond in front of me and I'd be like, yeah, it looks good. I have no idea.
Sparkly,
but a jeweler really, like, and that's what you have the attention to the detail. So you see that conversation, for example, I'm just going to use the pit for the example.
Right.
You stop it and you pick up these little certain, like, just tidbits of
Right.
and like, I'm like, oh, I didn't see that. Oh, I didn't see that, right? And so like I watched that clip like 3 or 4 times, just trying to be like, all right, let me shut the volume off and let me see if I can see it. And then the more you watch it, I'm like, he's right on target. So hats off to the pit, like they nailed it. Because
Pit
the
did a
facial
really, really good
expressions
job.
are everything, right?
Yeah,
the way she reacts.
Right. The pit was awesome. And like Raymond, we talked about the pit. He's like, it would be great to get it from a detective's perspective because you get it from the medical lens. Somebody did a reaction to the show, but it was a doctor, right? So she did a great job, but she did the medical end. I would do this and do that. So we're watching and I'm like, wait a minute. This is what I would do. I would do this. I would do that. And we're like, you know what? Let's do a reaction to the pit.
Right.
So
but it's even the pen, like the pen with the phone number, like all of that. Because the first thing I said, I'm like, well, if the pimp gets the pen, she's gonna get it beaten. Like that's the first.
Right.
But I'm like, no, you gotta open it.
Open the
It's
pen.
inside, and
And
it's
there's
just a phone
some.
number,
I don't want to
right?
say like there are even more creative ways for them to get information. I don't want to say what it is because you know we want to protect these things, but there are even more creative ways. Things we can offer these folks that they can have on them. They can have it in their bags, have it with their toiletries, whatever, and nobody's going to know, right? But the most important thing, like I tell folks, if you give somebody something, like a phone number or something to a hotline, make sure it works, right? You want to give them something, and then when they need it, it doesn't work. So that's
going to be the moment. That's
going to be in the moment.
Yeah, the moment they get the courage to dial that number.
Dial it, and they'll call you. Like when I give my card, I'll tell the person, you call me anytime. If you're in trouble, just call me, right? And they'll call you. They're going to call you 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. You're getting calls. You have to answer the phone. So I'll answer. Sometimes I'll sleep through. I'm human, right? But a lot of times when I answer the phone and I'll ask, hey, are you okay? Is it an emergency you need? No. You know, do you need anything? They'll say, you know what? I'll call you tomorrow. I'm okay. I'll call you. You sure? Yeah, I'll call you tomorrow. Because the reason they're calling is they want to know if you're going to answer, right? You want to know if you're just somebody who's going to do the same things. Tell me something and leave. So you have to follow through. All of this is about follow through, about being sincere, you know, and stuff like that.
Keeping
Treat
your
folks
word.
with dignity,
Absolutely.
keeping your word.
Yeah.
believe me, your word
up.
it really does mean something, especially on the street. It means a ton.
Yeah. Well, it means something to me, so I can imagine. I can imagine. So, what's the future of the show? What do you guys see for the show? I see. Obviously, you've got probably like what 20 skits altogether on the YouTube. Over 50, right? Because they get the shorts too. I'm like, you got all the shorts in there.
The shorts,
yeah. Like I'm saying, like the 10-minute segments.
Right.
We're under that. We're probably like
30 something, 39, 40? Less than 10. All right.
Yeah, I was gonna probably 15, 20, like right around maybe. Those, I love those.
Yeah.
I love those. So, is it more of those 10-minute segments? Are you guys thinking more like a podcast related setup?
We're getting ready to go. So I think over all our platforms with YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, we're almost at 400,000.
That's amazing.
In
I
2
love to
months,
hear that,
starting
brother.
in January 1st.
I love to hear, and I share everything I can.
Thank you.
man.
I
Like,
know, Bobby. We're
like,
going
I
to do
just-
the same thing
100%, man. You know,
because it's all about being consistent. This is something that we started a mission, right? We started a mission, and so we got to be consistent, right? We're trying to pick up more people for the 10-8 Army.
absolutely, absolutely.
Because that's what it's going to take. This, like you said, Bobby, it's so serious, but it seems like it's not getting the attention it should. Well, this is what we're doing. We're going to change that. That's the reason why we started the show.
Nobody wants to talk about it. It's not a fun thing to talk about.
It's
You know
a
what I
very
mean?
heavy subject.
It's a very heavy subject. And the thing is it's like much anything else, you don't know your audience. You know, and sometimes having these conversations in a public forum, people aren't receptive to it because a lot of people might have this trauma in their life and they've never...
That's true.
Right. And so in my experience, I try to be very careful. Usually, even more recently, like someone came to me and had a conversation with me, and they voluntarily offered that information to me.
Right.
And I was almost taken back by it. Like I was like, oh wow, like this. I could obviously this, right?
They
like,
trust you.
yeah, the relationship just it went to another level
Right.
because you trusted me with this information. And just in doing so, it sparked something inside me because it was based on what we're talking about,
Right.
and it made me realize that this is bigger than just somebody. Like I'm a dad and a grandfather, right? But I'm not a victim.
Right.
You know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
brother?
that's true.
You know what I mean?
I got you. Yeah.
And so, realizing that to a victim to come to me and to mention that, like I feel like it's a calling, and the universe is reaching out.
Bobby,
to
jump right on
George,
in. Let's
fact,
go.
already is. So, brother, on the record, I want to say whatever I can do, my resources, whatever we can do to support you, even maybe do some more shows. I would love to do a live show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's do a live show.
We got three chairs right there, guys. We'll do a live show. We can take questions from the audience.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really.
The live show gets more active.
Yeah, it gets a little wild.
Yeah, it really does.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I can imagine because just the comments we get that aren't live, even
right.
those comments, we get a ton of comments. People comment a lot. I love it. Keep commenting, my 10-8 people.
Yeah, absolutely.
They comment a lot and they engage with us, so that's great. That's one of the plans. We want to kind of go this route too, so that we can really engage with the folks that watch our shows, because I'm sure they watch what we do and they ask questions, but they ask one question when they might have more follow-up questions. So we want to kind of open that up too.
Right. In my audience, they're already familiar with my conversation style.
Right.
So, when I posted that you were going to be on the show, everybody's like, oh my God, I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to this one. Is this going to be live? And I'm like, no, it's not going to be live. Oh, it's not going to be live.
Right.
So people really want that live element. But by the same token, I thought it was so very important, George. I wanted to sit down with you, brother. I just want to be honest. Ray, I love you too, brother. But I really wanted this opportunity to sit down and talk to you because, again, I know I mentioned it at the beginning of the show. I'm just flattered that you would be here today and that you share this with me because,
thank you for having me,
bro. Unsung heroes, brother. You know what I mean? It's the people out there that do the most and they say the least. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you guys aren't looking for recognition, but nobody knows you're out there. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's the nights that are keeping us safe while we sleep. And I just want to bring awareness to that as much as possible. And it's not just be like, oh, look, this is Mike. No, it's to realize that there are people that are still willing to fight for us.
Yeah.
You're right? Because
no doubt about it. There's a ton of people. Believe me, I work with them. And I have a whole bunch of people I work with.
Absolutely. And so your team, how many people on your team right now?
So no, I'm the only. It's just me right now. Yeah. It's just because of the way the way it's always been. It's just been me. I told you I had a partner, Jeff, who retired.
Yeah.
When he
so
left,
Jeff retired. Okay.
Jeff retired. He's gone. So prior to him retiring, it was he and I. We would handle the cases. We were both on same federal task force.
Sure.
So we would handle the cases together. But when Jeff retired, I started doing it on my own, which that I was doing it on my own prior to working with Jeff, but once he got promoted, we were partners. I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
You know?
But you have unlimited resources from the department, right? Whatever,
Unlimited.
wherever you got to tap in.
My department's super proactive when it came to this because we're busy. We do busy work there, especially with SVU.
Yeah.
But they allow me the freedom to continue my cases, like follow it all the way to the end, no matter how long it takes.
Because there is no statute of limitations,
No,
just so people are aware. Like,
Yeah, they let me get creative in going out and, doing surveillance and doing all these other things. They just give me the freedom to do it, but you also have to get the job done. You know?
Right.
And I do other things other than human trafficking. I do a lot of stuff with the elderly. I do the same thing, elder exploitation. I do a lot of trainings with that.
So you're still involved in the fraud?
Yeah, I do scam trainings out there.
No kidding.
Yeah, I do a lot of scam trainings. Folks want to hear some scam stuff, I can do that too. All the romance scams and all that stuff.
Amazon.
All that stuff, all the little things you're getting, the text messages you're getting on your phone.
My audience has heard the story, but you haven't. I'm home. It was shortly after my divorce. It's like 5 years ago. I was not in a good place. There's a funny ending to all this, but I was not in a good place. And I received a phone call. It's my friend Tony from Florida. Haven't heard from this guy. He used to work for me. It's been like 10 years. Haven't heard from this guy. But we're always on Facebook. Hey, buddy, And he's talking to me, and he sounds kind of muffled. And he's like, hey, I was in a car accident. I ran a red light. I hit a lady. She was pregnant. They took her away in an ambulance. I'm in the hospital. They got me handcuffed to the bed. I need help. And I'm like, guys, I'm a 50-year-old man, right? I'm 100% with it. I would have swore it was him on the phone.
Right.
George, it was his voice. I heard Tony talking to me. No, now everybody's like, oh, AI. Well, this is 5-6 years ago, guys. AI wasn't what it is now.
Right.
So in this whole process, he said, my lawyer is going to call you.
I was just going to say that. I was going to say, did he put a second person on the phone?
Right? Phone hangs up. A few minutes later, the phone rings. Yeah. It's a lawyer. Do you know when it finally, now I'm emotional, right? I'm thinking to myself, my buddy just almost killed somebody. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I have my own problems right now. I got to deal with you. He says, yeah, you need you to Western Union me the money. Guys.
Now you hear Western Union, it's over.
So, again, I only mention this, like I said, I'm 50.
Right.
And, I'm with it. Now, imagine someone who's elderly. Someone who might be, maybe just a little...
because in that same scenario, what they're going to tell that person is this. They're going to call and say, hey, auntie. And she's going to say, who's this? It's your niece. And the person, the victim, potential victim will say, is it Debbie? Yeah, auntie, it's Debbie. So what I call that's like the correct scam. And if I could just pass important information, Social Security numbers.
Yeah.
A lot of times with these scams, when these scammers, they'll call you and they'll call us and they'll call elders and they'll say something like, isn't your Social Security number, this is your account. Your last 4 digits are 1, 2, 3, 4. They want you to correct them. They want you to say, no, it's not. It's 7012. So that's how they get your search. So just a little tidbit I can throw out there real quick.
Well, people need to understand that this is what they do full time.
Full time.
Right? If we go to work, we have jobs, we take care of our families.
They
right?
research you and see that you had a nephew that might have lived in Florida. They have all day to do it.
Do you know how they got Tony's voice? A week prior, he posted a video about how he was loving Florida and how great it was. It was literally a video of him recording himself.
Right.
And I commented and said, Tony, I'm so happy that you found peace in Florida.
Yeah.
They saw that I cared about him. That's how they made the connection with me and Tony. Because otherwise they would have had, again, I hadn't seen Tony in like 10 years.
Right.
And he used to live here and used to work with me, and now he's in Florida. And I'm like, brother, I'm so happy to.
I haven't heard that before.
That's how they made the connection. They could see that I cared about him. I love you, brother. I'm glad that you're happy and things are going well. And that's how they got me.
See that? Playing on emotion, right?
Right.
Knowing you have emotion for him. Using the internet to watch somebody post. See how these guys are. They're not going to be out there stalking anymore. They're using computers and all this stuff.
Right. And I keep saying, like, I hate to preface this, but again, I'm with it. And so they got me. Like, I was one step away.
Right.
If that guy didn't say Western Union, guys, I'm not quite sure I would have because he's my friend, and I'm never going to turn my back on my friend. Right.
I've had it happen to coworkers. They knew what I was doing, and they come to me, George. same scenario. This happened to me. My nephew, he's got an accident on the George Washington Bridge. He needs money for. I said, did he turn the phone over to a state trooper when you were talking to him? He goes, yeah, there was a cop right on scene. That's his buddy. It's like two of them working together.
Damn.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, I mean, not to get too personal, how much like money, like what are we talking? Like are we talking like hundreds of thousands, 20,000? Like typically what you see, like
with the
what's the worst and what's like, you know what I mean?
The trafficking part, I know that I had a real organized group doing like, this was the sex smuggling from the border, that group.
Yeah.
They're about 10 million a year just in there. Their workers, like the door people, the people that clean the place, those people in themselves had 40,000 in the bank. 50,000. Yeah, they had money. That was their end of it. So
that's how it works, right? Keep everybody fed, right?
Right, yeah. If
they're going to keep working for you. Because what's the alternative, right? If you're in a third world country, right? If you're in Mexico and you're living in the slums, what's the alternative? You go hungry, no money, or you work for this, right? Because once you pass that on, right? You're over. It's over. Like for you.
There's a lot of deception,
right?
Like you were saying, like, you want a better life, and these folks are off you, excuse me, a better life, a way to come here to the United States. They see us, it's a better life, you know. So people are literally dying. I had a woman one time, a young girl. She's by herself. I said, "How did you get across? Who'd you come across with? You cross by yourself?" They call them walkers. If they walk across the border, they call them walkers, and they usually cross the Rio Grande. So I asked her. I said, "How did you get here? Were you a walker?" She said, "Yes." I said, "You crossed the Rio Grande?" She says, "Yes." I said, "Did you come with anybody?" She said, "Yes, I came with my grandmother." I said, "So where's your grandmother?" She says, "She didn't make it. She couldn't make it across the river, so we had to leave her." I said, "You left her there?" She goes, "No." Well, she drowned, and she went floating down the river. So they had to leave her. So my point is, we talk about why people do all this stuff to come to this country. They're dying to come here, right? So imagine that you go through all that, then you get across, and then you got to be faced with being put in a building somewhere. You're going to date 30, 40 guys a day, and you're basically getting paid what sex workers were getting paid in 1940, right? After everything's chipped off, your lodging, your food, your transportation, they're basically, in my eyes, in my experience, they're working for like $5 a day.
Wow. Because what's that whole coyote process, right?
So
where the wristbands, right?
The coyotes that's all real. So the coyotes are the folks that'll go to those, they'll be the folks that'll go, they'll get recruiters, like the movie we saw, Sounds of Freedom.
Yeah.
And then they'll get those recruiters, and then those recruiters will bring them to, like they did in that movie, to that guy. That's kind of your coyote. But a lot of times what happens is, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. He's just giving us a...
All right, I'll finish.
No rush. He's just giving us an account.
So sometimes what happens is, a few years ago, the average price to come across was $8,000. That's what it cost you to get from here, get it all the way across.
Okay.
Then it went up. It went up to, now it's like $12,000 to get across. And that can be in a combination of money. It can be like cattle, jewelry. Cattle's very, very, I didn't realize how much cattle is it's worth a lot of money in these countries.
Yeah, right.
So once that's done.
How about the loan?
So they do the loans too. I had somebody who took out loans. That's why I didn't want to go back. They said, I took out these loans and now I got to repay them. But what happens is they'll pay the initial fee to the coyote. Once they get close to the border, the coyote say, okay, it's going to be an extra $2,000 to get you to your place. And that's where that debt servitude starts. So human trafficking, 3 times.
What do you say?
What do you say? You're already with these guys. And now they're like, all right, it's going to cost you an extra $2,000. I know you don't have the money, but if you just, we got ways you're going to pay this off. And that's where that debt servitude starts.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a.
And so multiply that times millions, right? Because we had millions of these people coming over the border, right? And unchecked, right? We don't know. And it bothered me when they said some of the footage, and like you see these wristbands all over the sand, and there's clothes and children's clothing, and you almost wonder how many of those children would even make it to the border, right? Like this, and how desperate do you have to be like, here, Mr. Coyote, here, take my kid,
right,
and get them to how desperate do you have to be?
They're very persuasive, and what they'll do is they'll, if you have kids, you have 3 or 4 kids, maybe you look at your children, you're going to pick the one who's the smartest, the one who maybe knows some English.
Yeah.
You got a pretty daughter, she's pretty, maybe she can get a job. most of the folks tell me that they envision coming here. None of them, I met a ton of folks that came across. Yeah. Maybe one of them actually did that kind of sex work in their home country. Most of them, when they come here thinking they're going to have legitimate work. But like I said, that servitude kicks in and, they don't, it's not legitimate work.
Wow.
Yeah. And then like you're saying, how do they get back?
Right.
And then the threat comes from that coyote. Yeah. Okay, if you don't do this, then we're going to go see your mom and dad.
Right.
So,
right. Right. And it's this perpetual.
It is.
And there's no win, right? And so like to your point, like you try to pick my brightest kid, hey, go do something
and bring money back. Right.
Not realizing
I've had girls actually told me this. Like I had to send money back to my family. I had one girl who wouldn't do it though. Really? She wouldn't do it. They brought her across. Same thing with the coyote. They put her. She had a legitimate job. She was working the job, but she was a very attractive girl. Yeah. So the guys around the job, one of the guys came up and said, "Listen, this is what you're doing now, but these guys want you to, spend some time with them. This is what I want you to do." And she was like, "I'm not doing that." And he's like, "Well, she says I have a job." So what he did was he got her fired from her job. So she had no way to make money. She had no way to pay her bills.
Because you can't allow that.
Yeah,
you can't, right? Because it's like the Bug's Life, right? Right? What do you, right? You if one speaks up, then you can't let.
Oh, right,
no,
right.
You have to squash this right
That's
now.
right.
She can't get away with this. She has to do exactly because if she tells everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So she ended up not doing it. He put her in that position. She was going to get kicked out of her house and everything. He told her, "You go to the police, they're going to deport you. They're afraid of us because these guys programmed them."
Right.
But she didn't care. She came right down to the police station.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her. She's a hero.
Yeah. She ended up going back home.
Yeah.
On her own. But that was one person that in my mind, I said at least she fought back a little bit. From that.
Sure. Again, and so that's just another leg of this industry, right? So that's the leg of this industry that most Americans. We might be aware, but we have no idea the inner workings of that. That's an organized industry. To your point, tens of millions of dollars, and I mean, if you think about that, and it's the United States, and I did some stats, and I was just like, wow, of all the things we could be. Like the United States is like the number one consumer of child pornography. Like that bothers me, man, to read that. Like that, that we are we
have more like pimping and stuff here than anywhere else. We always think it's happening in these other countries, but we do it very
George,
well.
you know people listening to this right now not believing what you're saying?
I know, but it's true.
How crazy is that? And I think sometimes like that self-reflection, looking in the mirror to be like, hey, it's okay to realize that we're not doing this good.
Right, yeah.
Like we have to make.
We can always get better.
Right. We can get better. We can be aware of these things. And, I think, I hate to say this out loud, but I think we're leaving doors open. Yeah. Right. Like I don't think we're vetting people properly. Right. There are situations that, like the Boys and Girls, the Boy Scouts, like things like that, where you realize that these people, these predators, they're going to put themselves in these positions to be close to children. And I think to myself, how do we not vet, right? Because how many baseball teams are out there? How many kids' baseball teams, girls' softball teams? Like, how many basketball teams? Right? I could go on and on and on. And so how do we vet? Is it more than a Corey check, George? Is it more, like, what does it take to vet these people? Because they're getting too close to these kids. And you're putting them in situations, not only they're close, but they're vulnerable situations.
Yeah.
A child's teacher is very formidable.
Yeah.
Right? You mom, dad tells you, hey, your teacher, like, listen to what they tell you. Do what they say. And again, and I don't want to pick on teachers. My God, I don't want to do that.
I love teachers.
I love teachers too. Like
they're doing God's work.
Dude, I believe that teachers should be paid like doctors. Like
that's
but I'm also saying that it's also a vulnerable. Like I said, the doors are open. There are positions where these doors are open where we need to vet and we need to realize, because in Massachusetts, and I'll say this specifically in Fall River, Massachusetts, we had a few cases where statutory situations where teachers were having relations with students, but because they are, correct me if I'm wrong, David, but if they resign, then there's no repercussions. They don't have to. They go on. And in more, and this is, I couldn't say this if it wasn't true.
Really?
And in more cases than once, these individuals are going to other schools and doing this again.
Oh, I have seen that. That's a good point. So that is kind of like we were saying, when you get charged with something and then it's not what you get convicted of. That's kind of the same thing. They might be accused of something, but if nothing ever comes of it,
Yes.
when they go to that next job, you're never going to know that
Right.
they were, in trouble. That just happened with the teacher in Rhode Island, right?
Yes.
That happened. I
Yes.
saw that.
Yes.
Same scenario.
Same scenario, right?
Yeah.
And so, much like anything else, addiction, it's a problem. You know what I mean? And if you tell a heroin addict, stop, they're not going to stop.
Right.
Right. And so these people, whatever the reasons, whatever, if it's psychological, if it's just they're broken, whatever it is, I say we can fix them with wood chipper. I can operate that thing. Like we'll make it. We'll put like flames on the side of it and just drop them in. But I digress. I apologize. But in situations like this, you realize that if we are not aware of it, right? If we don't question it, if we don't put the magnifying glass, like there are signs. And I think if we continue to allow this to happen, we are again. I don't know that there's an answer to say, George, this is how you stop it, right? Like I don't know, but what we can prevent, like the obvious things, I think we should do a better job.
Right?
Would you agree? At just
Yeah, we could definitely get better at how we handle these cases. But when I look at where we are now, I'm hoping. Because I can remember what like domestic violence was when I first started as a police officer 23 years ago, and how far we've come in this time where we're really on top of that issue. We have protocols set and we have resources set for our victims. I'm hoping that's what happens when we keep doing this and get the awareness going. Yeah. I'm hoping that's what happens with us. So in 5 years, we could be back here talking. Remember the first time we talked about this? This is what was going on then. Yeah. But now look and see what's happening. So I'm hoping that we fill in some of those gaps. But you got to recognize where the gaps are. You just brought one up. There's one of the gaps, right? So figuring out what the gaps are and then attacking those. I think in time, if we just keep the awareness going and this momentum going, in a few years, we'll be in a way better places as far as how we can protect our
How about legislation? Can we talk a little bit about that? I mean,
legislation's getting better. That's one thing to get better. I have my own idea of legislation, some legislation. I think it's important. I think talking with some of my friends, I think we should start charging these Johns with felonies for soliciting these girls. Charge them with felonies for these things. That's one thing we could do. Also, create a registry of human traffic. If you're a trafficker, we should have some kind of registry. Just like domestic violence, they're creating a registry now. I think a registry was formed, or like sex offenders. If you convicted of that charge, and it requires you to register, you have to register. I think that would help us, as far as law enforcement, because now if you come across a guy, he has 10 people in a van somewhere, you pulling him over, you get a flat tire, now you come over. Whatever the reason is, you run the person, you find out, hey, this person's convicted a sex trafficker or a human trafficker. Yeah. Now you can look at what you have. It's kind of giving you a better idea of what you're seeing. So those are ways we can cut in front of, do some prevention too. Sure. So, but the laws are, it's not easy. You're dealing with kids. You're dealing with a lot of stuff, but they're getting better. I can say that right now.
What are the minimums? What are some of the minimums that they?
It all depends. I don't know like the actual like 10 to 20, but a lot of it depends on what you're convicted of.
Sure.
The charges you're convicted of. But what I'll tell you this is, right now, take the gangs for instance, or somebody who sells drugs. They sell drugs. They do all that stuff on the streets. They know that with this trafficking, you could catch more time trafficking than you can doing some of this other stuff now. If your victim's under 18, is a juvenile. The laws are, the penalties are very severe. You get charged with human trafficking, it's very severe, as opposed to, these guys, they'll get in trouble for other crimes, and it's just different. Like I think when you look at right now the impact the penalties for committing crimes, human trafficking crimes, it's where it should be.
Would you say that some of these Johns, pimps, right?
The pimps,
that they figure it out? Like they figure out how far they can go. They know what they can say. Like if I'm doing something long enough, right, I get good at it. Is that fair to say?
Well, you mean the pimps?
Yeah, the pimps.
Yeah, the pimps. I always say like pimps pimp. They don't work another job and then they go out and pimp on the side. Real pimps.
But they figure it out, right? They figure out what they can get away with, what they can say, what they can do. Much like a pedophile. Right. And I think this is, again, I only say this because I want people to realize it. This is what they think about. This is what they prepare for, right? Like it's not a momentary idea. They're actually thinking these things out, right?
Yeah.
Just like a pimp. Like a pimp knows what he can say to the girls. He knows what he can get away with.
right, yeah.
And so when you got him, you bring him in and you're right. Like he's not going to tell you nothing and you got nothing on him, right? Because he's got it all figured out. Do you find that this is also the situation with like pedophiles, that they've figured out like what they can get away with, what they can't get away with, where they can go? Because you almost think to yourselves, like, it should be easy to find. George,
Right.
it should be, like, I should be able to know, like, oh my God, there it is right there.
Right.
But it's not, brother.
It's not, no.
It's like this secret underground, and
is.
they know how to get in, and there's, the dark web, and
That's what it is.
Brother.
It's a dark web, and they have networks of folks that work together. And
See, that's what I'm saying, right?
If you're in that community, that was some of that stuff. If you're in that community, you know the folks. It's exclusive to them. They're they know where to go. These people, believe me, the folks.
Right.
So they're there's some stuff I can't say for law enforcement purposes, but there are words that they say that mean something in that community. So
I could have just went.
yeah, oh, yeah. That's cool. I like that.
those are great. The Rodecaster Pro 2, man, I love that thing.
This is awesome.
Thank you, brother. I'm glad you're having a great time, man. Yeah.
this is
But so that's kind of like the point I was trying to make, is that these people are professionals at it. They're
Yeah.
professional at it. They're not. You're not dealing with. Everybody thinks it's like this guy in his basement. That's all they do. 24/7. They're seeking this. They're looking for it, and they're going to figure out any which way to find it.
they
And
have
and
that
I hate to use the example, and I apologize to my audience and you, George, but it's much like someone who's addicted to substance, right? Like someone who's addicted to heroin. They'll do anything. They will steal from their mom. They will steal from the people they love most because they're sick.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be sick. And they will do anything. And I only say that because it's the same mindset. These predators will do anything to feed this sick desire.
It is like, you can call it like a sickness. It really is.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like they'll do whatever they can to feed that sickness, to feed that disease. They're much like these heroin addicts that'll steal from the people they love most. It doesn't matter. You'd be like,
Doesn't.
oh, how can you do that? Well, you don't understand what it's like to be sick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's no amount of love, fear of violence, anything that's more powerful than the power of addiction, right? So you're right. And these folks here that do this stuff, they're addicted to this. There's an addiction there.
Absolutely.
And then you got to think about society now, the pornography and all that stuff. And it's the way the world is now. And when we were kids, when I was kids, there was like magazines or something. You know what I mean?
We were lucky to find it stuck together on the side of the road. Right? Right.
There wasn't, you couldn't go on the internet. You didn't have to worry about your children. They weren't exposed to, sex in those situations so young.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that too, as time goes on, just constant exposure, and
We couldn't find pornography by accident.
right.
Like
I did one time.
Well,
Okay. Story time.
okay, all right.
So one time I was like in my room.
Yeah.
And I guess there was a porn tape in the VCR, because like it was like a TV with the VCR built into it. And so I had a cartoon in it the night before, and I guess my brother ended up.
oh
going.
shoot.
Yeah, and so I pressed play, and it was just some crazy shit.
So, but that's an accident. What I'm saying is, you're on your phone, and you happen to type in the White House,
Right.
and you're not getting the White House.
That
You know what I mean?
happens, though. Yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm
that
saying. It's that
100%
it's that
happens.
accident
Yeah.
where we
That
weren't
happens.
exposed to that. Our
That's what
accident
happens
was
to children. Sometimes they put in these words and they spell it phonetically.
Yes.
Not the way it's and then they get all this stuff pops up and they're like, oh my God.
Right.
And now they're they're gonna go through it.
Yeah. And again, I don't want to bring it back up, and this will be I promise last time I bring it up. But Roblox, and I just want to say this one more time.
It's not just
You know what?
Roblox, it's Fortnite.
Yeah, there's a bunch
Great.
of them. Yeah.
And the reason I'm bringing it up is because the amount of effort that they put into creating these games, like they're literally designing the whole game. So they're writing code
Right.
to create a trap to get children.
Well, the thing is, if they're writing all that code, they could simply write code that'll keep adults from going in there. It's like, they could.
So
Yeah.
Again, I only bring this up because that's the war that you're fighting, brother.
Right.
You're fighting a technological war. You're fighting an emotional war. Like there's so much happening here, the human element, and of course technology and all the great things that it does, right? Nuclear power powers how many cities, brother?
Right.
But
Yeah.
one bomb destroys, you know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
that's
this is the same idea. And I think people like you that bring awareness, you and Raymond bringing awareness to this and sharing this information. And brother, dude, thank you for your service. I mean,
thank you.
my God, like you're a police officer first, right?
Right,
That's
right.
where it all starts, man. And this is all addition to that hard work and commitment that you provide.
Try to
to
spread the
people,
word.
man,
That's what
right?
I'm trying to do. Spread the word.
Yeah.
That's it.
So what's next for you, man? Is this something you want to continue? Are you thinking maybe organizations? Are you thinking?
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah.
So this was before I went to school for criminal justice. I was a communications major, so it was kind of like a first interest. So I'm kind of like circling back to something that was an interest of mine because I've been working in law enforcement so long. My days are numbered. I'm closer to the end than I am to the beginning.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Me too.
But yeah, I'd like to continue doing this. We want to watch the channel grow, hopefully, and then go from there. And I would like to continue training and doing stuff like that, just spreading the word, as far as I can.
Yeah.
And this is a great way to do
Do you
it.
do any public events? Like, do you have people come in? Like, is this that people can get involved in if they wanted to participate in something?
Yeah, I do a lot of trainings and presentations and stuff like that.
So if they wanted to get that, how would they get that from you?
if they wanted to see it?
Yeah, if they want to participate in it. If there's, do you do any like public?
The stuff, a lot of the stuff are for specific agencies inside their little spaces, but the Conference Crimes Against Women, that was more open to folks that could come in and watch
Would you
it.
be open to doing something like that? Like an open forum, like maybe like an audience setup, maybe something like
a
this?
panel or something?
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly
If I could bring
what
a
I'm
few
talking
of my
about.
little colleagues
Yeah,
with
that's
me that
exactly
work
what I
here,
mean. Yeah, maybe Jeff wants to.
Yeah, Jeff, definitely. Yeah.
And maybe
Definitely.
maybe we engage the community. Maybe we talk to the audience and see.
Maybe have a panel and just go and see what people, like the gaps, what people want to know, what they don't know. And kind of fill in those gaps. Okay, this is what you do, a survey or something. Okay, what are and dispel the myths. That's one of the things Raymond and I try to do is dispel the myths.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So let's.
I feel like I figured out that Easter Bunny isn't real today, man. This is just, right, man. It's
Bobby, I could tell you stories forever,
brother.
And these were the stories we
I
could
think
put out
this is
here.
a great intro to get just to get the ground moving here, and then we continue to do this again and again. Like I mentioned to you earlier, brother, I'd love to have you come back.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
and
Maybe
do
come
this.
on 10-8. Come
You know
on
what
to
I mean?
10-8
Oh,
show.
I'd love to do that.
Let's do that.
I'd love
next
to do that.
time.
With that
Come on,
setup, man,
yeah.
I don't know. I have to put makeup on if I'm doing that show. You guys are like HD. You know
I
what
told
mean?
Raymond that. I said, Raymond, you're real close to me.
You guys are
back
great.
that
Yeah.
up.
Did you wear makeup?
No,
You don't wear makeup?
No.
You got great skin, bro. You guys got amazing skin.
Cape
doesn't it?
Verdean, man. Cape Verdean.
No, that'll do it every time.
Portuguese, too.
Yeah, true, man.
Yeah,
True.
Portuguese. Yeah, that's right.
Great skin, great teeth. This guy's got it all going on.
Hey, I'm
Good
trying.
for you.
You got the hair, though.
Thank you, bro. That's it. I tell these guys, I got the hair, but it'll hurt to lose it. You know what I mean? That'll be the worst spot. Just can't lose it, right?
Bobby, thank you. Thank you for having me, though.
No, George,
This
thank
was a
you,
lot of
brother. I
fun.
really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Make sure to go over to like, follow, and subscribe to the 10-8. Can
10-8
we,
show.
real quick, before we go, what does that represent, the 10-8?
All right, so the 10-8 show is, in police, we have the 10 code. I put that in the thing there.
No, people don't know.
Oh, they don't know.
Let's
So
tell them.
in
Let's tell them.
policing, we have the 10 code. Like most people are familiar with 10-4. They're 10-4 over and out and all that stuff. But we also have 10-7, which means you're out of service. Like if you're going to do something or putting gas, what have you, just put me 10-7. I'm getting gas. But when you go back in service and when you're in service, you're 10-8. That means you're ready for your next call. You're ready to work, and that's what we are. Raymond and I on the 10-8 show. We're ready for our next call. We're
So
always
when you outro, can you say it for the audience?
So my outro is usually, I say a little of this and that, and I usually just say, remember to stay safe, stay aware, and always stay 10-8.
I love that. And with that said, thank you so much for being here, everybody. Really appreciate it. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to the show. If you need any information in regards to what we talked about today, please reach out to me at the Bobby Couto Show at gmail.com, the 10-8 show at gmail.com as well. Right, Raymond? You're right there. Right?
We're on all the platforms. So
all the platforms. And of course, if anybody wants to, you can just write through me. Like I link it all there, and it's all there because we're now friends, man, and I can't wait to do this again.
Yeah,
so everybody
100%.
remember to like, follow, and subscribe, and remember, and always remember that all roads lead here.